Oh dear, His Exaltedness, the great Jabba the Hutt, has decreed that you are to be terminated immediately.
Good. I hate long waits.
You will therefore be taken to the Dune Sea and cast into the pit of Carcoon, the nesting place of the all-powerful Sarlacc.
Doesn't sound so bad.
In his belly, you will find a new definition of pain and suffering as you are slowly digested over 1,000 years.
On second thought, let's pass on that, huh?
You should have bargained, Jabba. That's the last mistake you'll ever make.
I was busting out laughing.
Go. Welcome to the Burning Ewok podcast, episode number 10.
It's 10.
X.
10, yes.
X.
10. Yes, here we go. I'm your host, Justin Granz, and with me, as always, is...
Chuck Fisher.
And...
Dan.
Hey, how you doing, guys? Happy Friday, Thursday, whatever it is, Thursday. It is Thursday the 30th, right? Yeah. Memorial Day week, short week.
I'm laughing, by the way, because you go Chuck, and on my screen he's over here.
Yeah, but you got to remember, mine's the one that's recording, so mine's the one. I got the real one.
Did you guys notice any issues last night with Diablo? It was chugging for me.
It was a little bit.
So yeah, Diablo 4. We just had a big update, and I just kind of noticed some stuff. But I don't know enough about it, and I don't research enough to know like what they fixed, what's broken, and I don't go to the forums and look. So when you were saying it was a little chuggy, because you just started playing it, like, are you talking about like the rubber banding stuff that happens where you like go and all of a sudden it speeds back up? That's something that's been in there forever, and it sucks. Okay. And I can't believe they haven't gotten rid of it.
It's rare that it happens. It just happened to me a bit last night when I was playing. Well, what's really interesting is today. So I'm playing a druid. I'm now up to level 38, maybe 39.
Nice.
So
you're catching up to me.
Today I was online and I watched a video on how to, how to set up your druid to like kick butt, and you really want to have your companions like wolves and stuff, and the creeper thing that follows you, and I mean that it's unbelievable how fast it kills stuff now compared to just using the storms and stuff.
Okay, so we're a week later. You're playing the campaign. How far into the campaign are you? You got to be getting close. Because
I keep getting sidetracked on these side quests, but yeah, I'm burning through it now. So, but I haven't revealed the entire map yet. Only like the north half. So
what act are you in?
I'm still in Act 2.
Oh wow. Okay. So you're just like chilling and just going through and just enjoying your time through it and exploring. And
I'm just
kind of hitting what you want.
Yeah.
I think that's totally the best way to play the game. Because it's just like it slowly opens up as you go and you get to see everything. And it's like honestly, I think that was the most fun I had with the game was initially running through that campaign. So, and you only get that once whenever you play a game, right? So, although Dan, would that be your experience as well? Or are you liking what you got now best?
I think very similar to Diablo 3, right? Does everybody remember when Diablo 3 came out?
Oh yeah.
Right?
I took a day off work and played about 15 minutes of it.
Yeah. So the game Diablo 3 at release was not the game Diablo 3 now.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you want to go through the campaign, I think the experience would probably be largely similar, right? Because you're going and you're paying attention to the story and you're kind of taking in everything. They spent so much time really developing that main story, which you can finish in both Diablo 3 and Diablo 4, you could finish the whole campaign in a couple days if you really power through it, right? So they're not super long, but they're very detailed, a lot of lore and everything. I think they're both phenomenal, both great stories. I enjoyed the hell out of both of them. But once you've done it, and Justin, I don't know how many times you did it, but like the beta for Diablo 4, I think I probably ran through that 10 times the first 20 levels. The first two, I think it's the beta was the first two acts
I
or
did it 2
something like that.
times.
Yeah, I went through it with like 4 different characters, and then when the game came out, I went through all 4. And there's 4 acts, right, or 5 acts. Went through all 4 acts on 3 different characters, and never reached max level. Right when Diablo 4 first came out, before season 1, and then I think I reached level like 60 for the first 2-3 months, and then season 1 came out of Diablo 4, and I just skipped it. Right, didn't want to go through it anymore. And though I just for season 4, I fired up 2 characters, skipped the campaign, and just leveled. Right, because the game is fun to just power through and just get all the loots, kill all the guys, and just it hits all the all the synapses in my brain are going, ooh wee, fun right now. So I think the campaign, if you've never done it, do it. It's fun. And then if you're into smashing stuff and seeing lots of stuff fly around on the screen, the mid and late game of Diablo 4 is just really, I don't know if perfect is the right word, because I haven't gotten to the absolute end game yet, which is like pit level 100 plus. And some of those other things, I haven't gotten that far yet, but I'm close. And I hear it's a little rough, but everything else before that is just, I'm having a blast.
Yeah, I mean, Chuck, just knowing that you're in the campaign, I mean, you have no idea a lot of the time what we're talking about.
No, but I've
So,
read a little bit. I've read a
yeah.
little bit about it.
So, I mean, you get all the Helltide stuff opens up for you. You'll get, and that just like different regions will get hit with, I don't know, bloodstorms, and there'll be about 10 times as many bad guys in the area, and they just come
that's
in waves.
cool.
They don't stop. It's relentless.
Yeah, that's
So
cool.
that's fun, and you can get a lot of good stuff that way. But then there's also like the nightmare dungeons, so it allows you to make some potions. To you craft a potion, and it opens up a dungeon for you, but that dungeon is at a certain level, and you have a certain amount of lives. So you have like usually 12 lives to get through it. I don't know. So far, I haven't died in any of them.
It's
I'm sure that
until level 20, then it goes down to 4.
4. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I'm doing like level 10s right now. But I breeze through them. I could probably thank you for Capstone help this afternoon.
I saw that on the chat. I was like,
Yeah.
damn.
So there's I was getting just tromped by the boss in the second capstone. I didn't die at all until I got to the boss too. That's the part that was pissing me off. And then I got in there, like, Dan, just come help me. I can't do this. I'm like, help me. Yeah. Oh,
I don't think I hit 2 buttons. He was dead.
Yeah.
It was like, boom, boom, dead.
So I forget, like, if you're in the campaign, how much do you run into other people, like actual real people?
Probably not a lot, because most
It's
people
not very. Yeah, it's not very often.
Just in the main
I'm-
towns, right?
Yeah, in the main towns. Once in a while, if I'm out in the wild somewhere, I might
Okay.
run into somebody, but it's not very common.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Blizzard calls like the whole technology where you're in the same zone but in a different like stage. They call it phasing. So if you haven't completed a lot of the campaign yet, or parts of the campaign, you're phased into a totally different like parts of each zone.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That way the map isn't like just loaded with people. Then.
Yeah. Plus you're on probably. Are you in World Tier 2?
Yes.
Yeah.
I moved up.
Vast majority of people go to World Tier 3 and 4 as soon as possible to get better loot.
Yeah, that is the one thing. Like, at times it's like too easy, and the loot is just rough. Because I'm trying to find uniques, and then you're trying to salvage them to get the aspects off of them, and they're just not dropping very often.
Yeah, don't worry too much about it
Yeah,
yet. 'Cause
when
you're
you're
still
done with the
going through the
campaign is
campaign.
when all that stuff happens. You'll be
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
When you finish the campaign, you're gonna like kind of, you'll come hang with us, and you're gonna see a totally different game. The traditional Diablo blow through everything and just blow stuff up, and loot's literally flying everywhere. You're trying to keep track of it all, and it's a blast to do it. And then you're gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna spin up a new character, and you're gonna skip the campaign, and you're gonna go with a level 1 or level 2 character out into a Helltide, and in about 15 minutes you're gonna be like level 10, and then you're gonna be like level 20, and then like the progression is totally different when you skip the campaign.
That's cool.
Did the Paragon points carry over?
So this is the important part, right? For characters down the road, you got to do renown.
Okay, I know the renown carries over.
Yeah, so renown carries over Paragon points and ability, or like ability points. So that's the only thing that carries over from a skill perspective. Then anything you have in your stash and all your gold will carry over to other characters.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
So like anytime I start up a new character, I think I have like through renown, I have like 20 ability points, like right off the bat or whatever it is, right? And then when you hit level 50, you don't get ability points anymore. You get Paragon board points. So I have 25 to start from renown through renown there on any new character, and that carries over season to season too, which is nice. So those are pretty important. Like, so you got like with one character, you want to be able to get all the renown done so that you never have to do that shit again. I would hate to have to do that now again on any character.
Are you maxed out on all of them right now?
Well, the renown, the ability points part is maxed out, but the progression stops at, I think, 2 or 3, whatever. Like only half of it carries over to each character in terms of what's revealed on the maps. So you still got to do those things like quests and unlocking waypoints and stuff like that to finish the progression, but you still keep most of the rewards.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it definitely helps with new characters because you're basically souped up and way ahead. You may be level 1, but you have all the skills of a guy that's like level 20 to start.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
So to give an example, right? So when season 4 came out, I started a rogue. What was it, 2.5 weeks ago? He's a level 100, right? And I never got a character to level 100 before this season.
My highest ever was 72, so I'm going to pass that soon.
About that.
Yeah.
So yesterday, I came home from work and I was on a support call. We had like a big outage in Ireland, and it wasn't anything I could really help with directly, but it was my clients that were impacted. So I'm sitting there on a call on one screen, and this is like 5 p.m. I started, and by the time it was finished at like 11 o'clock last night, my barbarian went from level 1 to level 50.
Wow.
So
wow.
Yeah. So I played more this afternoon, and I'm a level 70, 76, something like that on the barbarian.
Awesome.
And I gotta say, the barbarian is so much easier to level even than the rogue. The rogue flew through like everything. And I know a little bit more about how the season's really set up and how I'm pretty sure I could level a character to 100 in a day if I started a new one.
Wow.
At this point.
What characters? So when I started my game, I just picked the druid. I don't know. I just picked it. Is there a better class, do you think?
Barbarian right now is by far the best. It's just so overpowered. And I'm not. I don't think I'm even playing the best build. I'm playing like the second best build for leveling. I'm playing a whirlwind Dust Devil build, and it went really fast. And then I hit 50 and opened up the first Paragon board, and then put I think 5 aspects on some of my gear. And that's the other thing, right? I'm going to segue here. The new content for season 4 is with the Iron Wolves, right? So it's the Iron Wolf faction. I think when you get to the 3rd or 4th tier of reputation with them, you get a reward and you get a sacred weapon. And sacreds drop on tier 3. So sacred versions of loot drop on tier 3. And it just like your DPS is going to like double or triple there. Then when you get to tier like the 6th reputation reward, you get an ancient weapon. And your DPS goes like my DPS went from 1800 or 2000 on the sacred to like 3300 on my main weapons. Yeah. So when I ran Justin through caps or Fit, I didn't run you through. I just helped you with that last boss. He was like telling me his like stats on his rogue, and I think I pasted mine back, and I had only gone a couple more levels. But with I think my guy at level, what level was I? I think 50, where were you, 60 at the time? And I think I was 65. Yeah. I think I had doubled Justin's attack power.
Oh yeah, he walked in Hulk smash and it was over.
Yeah, I think I'm at level 76. I think I have more attack power than my rogue does at 100. So
that's crazy.
I'm basically whirlwinding from start to finish through an entire dungeon right now. Nightmare. I think I did Nightmare 62 on this guy already, which is pretty crazy at like 76. And you basically whirlwind and you never stop because it constantly builds rage, and you just do just hit my shouts and hope I don't run into like a puddle of poison. This poison still kills you pretty quick, but it's fun. I imagine it's going to get boring at some point, but the end build is not even this build, so I got to see what that is. But
yeah, I don't know if I'll ever get to that point. Like, I never really ever get to the end stuff of this. I just eventually just kind of get bored and move on to something else. And then I'll come back to it. But like I said, what I really want is I want an expansion. I want new content. I want like the bottom part of that continent to be filled in, if that's where it's going to go or whatever they're going to do. Yeah, I want new lands to explore, new towns and cities, and more story. So I like, but today I found like right before we started recording, I did a quest line that I'd never done before. So that was kind of cool. Oh, so every once in a while I'll find one. It was like a good 3 or 4 parter too. It kind of built on, and so that's cool that I found that. So yeah, I'm glad we're all kind of playing this now. It is fun, and I know like there might be like a group of like 4 or 5 of us that get together on a server and play pretty soon. I know we got people out there wanting to.
I would like to get involved in that.
Yeah. So yeah, just like run around, talking a little bit of smack, and just leveling up together.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
If you want some advice, once you finish with the campaign, if you're level 50. You want to get your goal is to get to world tier 4, which is Torment, right? Because that's where ancient gear drops. And if you can get there, then you just run Nightmare Dungeons, start at level 1 and just go through them. Nightmare Dungeons is the fastest way to level, as far as I can tell. I don't think there's a faster way to level other than that. Doing the Blood Maiden in Helltides is really good also.
That's what I've been doing.
If there's a bunch of level 100s, like just congregating and just like what I'll find is you'll see a level 100 barbarian come in and will literally one-shot the Blood Maiden. And if they've got a lot of the sacrifice, I forget what the Baneful Hearts, right? Or what unlocks the 3 stones. You could pretty much do like 20 of those every Helltide, and you will just get so much loot and so much experience and so much of the Burning Hearts, whatever, to turn in for more loot. You'll be squared. But the Nightmare Dungeon still, I mean, like, I think this afternoon, I think I got 4 levels in a single Nightmare dungeon. I went like 10 over my previous high, and it was like I entered in and I got an elite pack, and I went boom, a whole level like right there.
So I got irritated with the Nightmare Dungeons because I was just looking at tier. And I was
Mhm.
working my way up on the tiers, so I was just looking at that number. I didn't care about anything else. I got the
Yeah.
same dungeon 3 times in a row.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah, just go craft your own sigils, man.
I wasn't paying attention. I was just going into it, like clicking, and you just go right in. I'm like, wait a minute. I've done
Mhm.
this
The
2 other
sigil.
times.
When do you come across the sigil stuff? Because I think I've only come
When
across one sigil.
when you get do
You
you
gotta
have a
finish
sigil?
You gotta finish the campaign.
Got to finish the campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to do the
So
first capstone.
you got to finish the first capstone, and then you have to go and do complete one whispering tree.
Oh, do you have to do that too?
So I
Okay.
don't know if you have that unlocked yet, Chuck, the whispering
No,
tree.
he won't have the tree yet because that's
Yeah,
later in the game.
so there's this tree. I don't even know what the lore behind the tree was. I can't remember.
Got a bunch of
It's part
heads
of the
hanging from it.
campaign. What's that?
It's got a bunch of heads hanging from it,
Yeah,
and they all talk.
you have to get 10
It's
seeds
cool.
for the whispering tree, and you get those by doing little mini quests all over the map. And then you bring it back and you get an award. And the first time you do that, when you're in World Tier 3, I think it is, you get a sigil and then a quest to craft one.
Oh, okay.
And then once you can craft one, then all the materials to make new sigils drop, doing like killing bosses and stuff. And
You go into a
anytime you
cultist and
complete,
make them all
yeah.
time.
And then when you're in a nightmare dungeon, some of the random like radiant chests will drop sigils. The butcher always drops 2 sigils. And the boss at the end of the nightmare dungeon always drops a sigil 1 level higher than the one you just did.
Wait, have you run into the butcher yet?
I have not. No.
Oh, it's gonna be your favorite thing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. He's a lot
I'm not
easier
even
now.
spoiling. Well, it won't be for him
Question:
because if he
should
hits
I
it during the campaign, it's not gonna be easy.
should I jump to tier 3?
You can't.
You think? Oh,
You
have
can't
to
until you
finish
do that first capstone. You'll just finish the game out where you're at.
The capstone doesn't unlock until you finish the campaign.
okay. So I should just focus then mostly on the campaign quests.
Yeah, get that finished, and then it'll unlock immediately. I think it's pretty much sitting right next to you when you finish the last campaign mission.
Yeah, it's right
Cool.
in the
It's in
main
the
city,
church.
in the church.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
It'll be marked on your map.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's 3 capstones. The first one unlocks tier 3. The second one unlocks tier 4. And then the last one is like you come back to Lilith at the end, and it's the echoes of Lilith, and it's freaking hard, dude.
Is that where you're at right now?
Yeah, I got to go back with my rogue and see if I can kill her. I tried her at like 90, and I think I got her bar didn't even move. So
Wow.
Yeah, she's level like 125 or something like that. So yeah, so I'll probably go back to. I shelved the rogue for now. I was kind of waiting for you guys to. I'll wait for you guys to catch up. I'll probably just keep going through characters and seeing which one I like the best. That's what I love about where it's at now. Like the leveling is so fast now that I can play all 5 characters before the end of this season. So
Sure.
that's exactly what I want out of Diablo 4. And I'm having a blast. It's awesome.
It is pretty good. I'm glad I jumped on.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, we had a topic that we wanted to talk about, and I don't know if we got into it after we stopped recording last week or if we did tease it a little bit at the end of last week's podcast. But you guys had some opinions on the state of comedy, and I am really, really curious to see where we're going to go with this, because this could get spicy. So, what was it that kind of got this going? Was it we were talking about a show and one of the episodes got yes, the IT crowd. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So my favorite episode of the IT crowd apparently is no longer streaming. because it involves a man beating up a trans person. And I'm laughing, and I'm not gonna not be. I'm gonna. It's very funny because the entire situation happens where, and I'm gonna ruin this joke, and it's the best joke ever. He's an idiot. This guy's. It's Matt Berry. His character. He's in Fallout. He's the voice of Mr. Handy. He's also the boss in IT Crowd, but then he's also in What We Do in the Shadows and a lot of other stuff.
He's
And
amazing
he's
in that.
such a good comedian. He's so physically funny, and his voice is just booming and hysterical. Anyway, he meets this woman. He meets this woman, and he falls for her instantly because they have all the same everything. They're into pizza, beer, sports, whatever, and they just get along great. And she's wonderful for him, and she's like, I got to tell you a secret. And he said, well, what is it? And she says, I used to be a man. And he's like, I don't care. And she's like, okay, that's great. And then everything moves on, and they have this wonderful time. Everything's wonderful. And then later on, he's like, he's like, I can't believe that, I don't know which one's who says it. It's either her or him. And it's like, I can't believe that, you'd be so upset that, I would think that, that I wouldn't want to date you because you said you were from Iran. And she's like, no, that's not what I said. And he freaks out when he finds out the truth. And she ends up hitting him. And they just get into a fight. And the fight takes place and does some other stuff that starts a chain reaction of events. And it's really funny.
It is very funny.
And it's no longer streaming. But and you guys said you wanted to talk about, go in on this. And I got some hot takes on it that are probably going to be different than what you guys think I'm going to say. But I want to hear what you guys say first.
Of course. Let's put our foot in our mouths first.
No, I'll do a good job doing that.
Well, I'll take it, right? I'll take this, and I'll take a swing here. I don't want this to turn political at all, right? But I think comedy today, and this is one of those things, I like to watch nostalgic movies, right? So comedies of yesteryear, comedies were done totally different than a lot of them are done today, right? And it's hard to find a good comedy that's funny, or it's because people are too sensitive today to comedy. We have lost our ability to make fun of ourselves and each other. And comedians today feel they can't be super edgy because they're worried about getting canceled, worried about offending people. And, I was watching Matt Rife not too long ago. And if you haven't seen him, he's really good with his type of comedy, is working the crowd, right? He interacts with the crowd. So you don't know Matt Rife?
No, I hate Matt Rife.
Oh, okay.
No.
I hope he listens to this and I offend him because I hate him. And he'll go ahead. He's terrible.
Just with the crowd.
He's terrible. I know exactly who he is. Yeah.
I don't think he's terrible, and he's probably the toughest ticket to get in comedy today. I tried to go see him, and I don't want to turn this in I think he's awesome and you think he's not, whatever. But people were interviewing him because he almost got canceled last year, right? Because he said something, I forget what it was, but it's like people were like, you're making fun of people, and he's like, but I'm not being mean, right? I'm not doing the comedy to be mean to people. I'm making fun of a situation, not of the person. And that's really what good comedy should be about. There are mean comedians out there, and there have been for a long time, and sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're not, but we got to be able to make fun of ourselves and each other. and the situations that we're in. And sometimes it's irony, and sometimes it's just like, oh, hey, this guy fell on their face, or hey, it's your kid draws something in class, and hey, guess what? It looks like a dick. That's funny, but to some people get offended, right?
I love it when animals eat humans.
Yeah, it's just one of those things though now where people are so worried about offending other people.
I love it when people try to punch somebody and they fall down and hit their face on something.
Yeah, just people are, we have become, I'll just say everybody have become just kind of a bunch of pussies, and I know that's not the PC term, but people are so soft and so sensitive to everything. It's like, thicken up, make a little fun of yourself, have a little fun with things, and stop being so damn serious all the time. Otherwise, we will be left with, a million shows like, The Big Bang Theory, which is just really bad comedy because we're so worried about, actually having fun in making good jokes again, right? So that's kind of the way I feel. Not that I hate Big Bang Theory. I think there's some fun things to it, but I know you hate it. But
I hate it almost as much as Matt Rife.
Yeah. I want to see. So, like, what was there was a comedy movie that came out last year with Jennifer Lawrence. Oh shoot, it's the one
I
where
know what you're talking about.
She gets hired to be like
I forgot the name of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it was kind of a throwback to old school comedies, right? It offended a lot of people. It really didn't hold anything back in making fun of the kid or of herself or people in general or situations, right? And I want to see us go back to that. I want to see the Bill Burrs and,
Bill Burr. I was going to say Bill Burr is a bigger ticket than Matt Rife.
Yeah.
And Bill Burr,
clearly, yeah.
Like, so I agree with what you say about like the state of where people can be sensitive to things and everything, but at the same time, who's been canceled? Like Louis C.K. Louis C.K. did not hold back anything on the stage ever, and had some of the best comedy ever. What did he get canceled for? Exposing himself and pressuring women that were in the industry with him. So I think people that get worried about being canceled, I think are like, if Matt Rife is like, I almost got canceled because I'm doing this and I had to explain myself. It's just like, he shouldn't even have to explain himself. And that's like one of the things, and so it's like the fact that Bill Burr is as popular as he is, Jim Jeffries is as popular as he is. Louis C.K. would still be had he not, been a massive troll.
He's back.
He's back, but he's like doing the whole like. He's back, but he's not back. He's not. It's not even close to the same. I mean, look at Ricky Gervais is doing just fine right now. And when you say the comedies, they just had the comedy. You said the Jennifer Lawrence thing. So I think there's a perception that people are oversensitive. That there's a perception that people are getting offended. When people are getting offended, give me the examples. Like I think it's more perception and more media outrage than actual real outrage.
No, but I think the people making movies, making shows,
and they are buying into that. I agree, and that part I'm going to say, because that's why they pull that IT Crowd episode off. They pulled the Dungeons and Dragons episode off of Community, which is one of the best episodes. Also, I think there's some characters that go in blackface in it.
Just like you.
Which is like, if it's part of the joke and it works, and it's like people don't get offended by that. Just because you have something, it's like you have an executive going, nope, check it off, pull it out. And those are the ones making those decisions. It's not the comedians that are making the decisions. Good comedians know limits. Good comedians know what's funny, and good comedians know where to push and when to hold back. There's a difference between like Michael Richards losing his mind and yelling out the N-word 50 times just out of spite. That's not funny. That's something you're going to get yourself in trouble for. And it's just like if people say, oh, we're too sensitive, you can't do that. There's a point where you can go and there will be pushback when it's not funny and it's not done for the sake of comedy, when it's just you know.
If you look at the differences of, all right, so take that 70s show,
Sure.
right? Did you see that 90s show?
I
I
know.
haven't watched it. I've not watched any of it.
So that 70s show, one of my favorites. I loved it.
It's a great
I
show.
thought it was really good. Kind of edgy in a lot of respects, right? Really about a bunch of teens doing drugs, having a lot of sex and, a lot of riffing on immigration and, a lot of things that, like, because they got their one guy who's an exchange student comes in, right? So they make fun of him for, the way he talks and the way he looks and a lot of that, right? And it totally different. That 90s show has come along. It takes place like 10 years later, 15 years later, but it is a totally different show. It's like kind of funny, but it is so not edgy and so not that 70s show. And
But
the reason why
that didn't come out this year. That didn't come out in the last 10 years, even. I don't think. Didn't that come out Didn't that come out like 2010?
No, last year.
Third season, I thought.
Was it really? That's that recent?
Yeah, it's really. Yeah, it's really
man,
recent.
I'm in this time warp loop that I don't even know what year it is. Really? It's
second
that
season of that just got green.
Wait. Did they have that 80s show also?
They did not.
No.
Okay.
No, because they just skipped the 80s. So can I just
As we
real
all
quick?
should.
I want to throw my
Yeah.
two
You
cents
haven't said
in here.
anything. You go, Chuck.
First of all, I think what you said last week about the Big Bang is probably more apt to this experience as well, because I don't know if that made any sense. Anyway, what I'm saying is when you look at Spaced, when you look at IT Crowd, you see a reverence for nerd culture where you don't necessarily see that in the Big Bang. I think there is reverence there because of, you do get cast. They bring in like the crew from Star Trek, and they bring in nerd stuff. So there's got to be a little bit of
No, you know what though? What I mean by that, it's a big show, and anybody that's going to be on Star Trek, it's a nice payday for them and everything like that.
No,
Not everybody that's in Star Trek is like a nerd either,
No, I know, but I'm just saying.
And I mean nerd like somebody who's into that kind of culture and enjoys those things.
Right.
The thing is,
Right.
I watched an episode of The Big Bang Theory, and he's got a Star Trek action figure that has like a visor screw up of Geordi LaForge, and it's worth so much money. And I'm like, that never even happened. That was never even a real figure. But then I'll watch something like Spaced, and they're making like a reference point to something that truly did happen and all this other thing. Where it's like, you could have looked for a figure in the Star Trek universe that did have a problem, and that was something that was more sought out.
Right.
But they don't do that. They don't care.
Right.
They just want to make fun of the guy because, haha, what an idiot. Why is he spending all his time trying to get this figure? Yeah. But it's got a happy, warm ending when he gets to kiss the hot girl. It's nonsense to me, and it's just like that's where I don't like the show.
Okay.
Big Bang Theory ever.
All right, but that being said, there's this in Spaced, in the IT Crowd, in shows like that. There's this reverence for the community, that the show is mocking.
Mm-hmm.
There's this reverence for it. Okay. When you
or embracing, not necessarily mocking, embracing.
Or embracing, right?
Yeah.
In comedy, there's a couple of things going on right now. One is that there are cameras everywhere. So a comedy routine, they could be at any club, anywhere, at any time, working on stuff. They can make mistakes. They can screw up. They can say the wrong thing. That's a thing. I'm not like saying that they start screaming racial epitaphs at people. That's a different story. But I'm just saying, like, in their routine, if they screw up or whatever, that can get out. So what I'm saying is they're under a lot more
pressure,
scrutiny. They're under a lot more scrutiny now than ever before. Like they're very easy to attack. The other thing is
athletes, so are drama actors, are writers, so is everybody.
Correct.
Yeah.
But the one thing the comedians do that the rest of them don't is, they push that line. They're always pushing the line. So I listened to, for example, what's his name? Jimmy Carr, is that his name? That's not his name, is it? He's from Britain, right? He's a comedian. He was on just recently with Conan, and they were talking about this exact situation. This
Jimmy
exact
Carr,
situation.
who I don't find funny myself.
I think he's funny. I mean, British humor is different, but he was saying, like, look, as comedians, it's our job to say the things that the rest of the people can't say. And he was saying this to Conan. He was like, I'm not afraid to go out there and say it. I'm not afraid to, push the boundaries. And he'll even say, like, in his special, he'll say, well, here's the jokes that's going to get me canceled, and he'll do those jokes. Now, I think if there's a reverence for, okay, that's the thing. Like, if he's not mean-spirited, right, and the jokes are funny, they're going to work. But if there's a mean spirit behind it, if there's any kind of, like, animosity behind it, if he truly doesn't like people, that's going to come out. So, and I think there's acceptable. I mean, there's people you can mock with exception, and then there's others that you want to be more careful of, just because, as you know,
it's called punching up and punching down.
Well, right,
I think
but
that's
as
what
a
you're
group,
looking at.
there are certain groups that are more sensitive to being called out because of where they are in today's modern culture. So it is a tightrope that they have to walk, but I do think they can do it. I think I agree with Justin mostly on that the good comedians, the ones who understand what they're doing, they can still pull it off. Like Ricky Gervais, like, totally destroyed Hollywood. I mean, and he pulled no punches. He destroyed them. And he had no problem doing it. And people, even if people were hurt, it didn't faze them. And I mean, I must have watched clips from that show like 100 times. Like, they were so funny.
Didn't our conversation start out of the Tom Brady roast? Isn't that how we got on that?
Well, no, it actually came out of, I think, Big Bang, and it came out of the IT crowd canceling an episode.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's talk about the Tom Brady roast. I mean, you've got roasts. That is like pushing as far as you can. I mean, roasts. You're supposed to. It's the same thing. It's like if you ever seen the documentary, oh crap! I can't remember the name of the documentary, but it's all about the one joke, and it's about the
Aristocrats.
The Aristocrats,
yep.
Yes. Where it's like, the punch. Everybody knows the punchline of the joke, but it's how do you get there? And the more insane and off color you go to get to that, the more buttons you're pushing, and that's I mean, and that's the nature of. So I think the problem, going back to like what we said, and I don't disagree that there are problems and there are perceptions and there are sensitivities. I'm not saying that there aren't sensitivities and that people aren't getting offended by things, because people are. I mean, it's an on edge, polarized culture right now, but it doesn't help when an executive behind a desk is looking at things and making decisions, not understanding the material.
Yeah,
and that pisses me off to no end.
Yeah, and I think the problem is, like, so if you go 30 years ago, 40 years ago, right, is whatever was going on in stand-up comedy always would kind of get translated into some sort of a movie comedy career. The Richard Pryors, the Eddie Murphys. They're become popular. Their stand-up routines have brought them fame, and boom, somebody, all right, he sells out every show, time to go make a movie. And then we got gems like, Beverly Hills Cop. We got, Blazing Saddles. We got all these really good comedies, Airplane, that, were born out of these comedy careers, stand-up comedians, people who then became writers and wrote jokes for people on screen. And people are too afraid to do those kinds of things now. And you can't really go, I mean, other than, the Jennifer Lawrence movie last year, what other good comedy movies are out there, right? You know, everything is so serious. Everything, even the comedies are just like lighthearted comedies. There's no laugh out loud comedies making fun of people here. You know, comedy is real. To me, comedy is really good because this gets based on a little bit of truth, a little bit of perception, and a really good punchline. And I love irony, and I love going, oh, hey, that's true. There's some truth to the comedy, and I need to see that in movies again. Like everything can't be Marvel event.
So,
Quick, mad living in a Marvel movie is not comedy.
so let's assume that the world will survive, or humans will survive to 2030,
Mm-hmm.
right? Things kind of happen in decades with this stuff. I mean, if you look back in the 70s, there's not a lot of comedies. It's Taxi Driver, it's Clockwork Orange, it's dark and dingy. Until you slowly had that rebirth of the Zucker brothers coming out with Kentucky Fried Movie, Airplane, and the whole slapstick genre kind of started and kick-started and kind of went through until it finally ran its course, right? 80s, it's a terrible decade for comedies for the most part, though. Now that I think about it, but I mean, well, it's the sex comedies, the really stuff. But you do have absolute classics like Better Off Dead, which could be made today. There's no reason that Better Off Dead wouldn't be. And you talk about like the stand-up comedies. If you look at like Eddie Murphy, like you have behind you, if you go and watch Delirious, it's just like some of the jokes just aren't funny now. Because of the taboo, or because I mean, it's a lot of anti-gay stuff in them. First of all, like, and it's just like, but it's mean. It's very mean-spirited. Because it was in the 80s, it was something to do to make, like, it was okay to, like, everything was gay. If something was stupid, it was gay, right? Or you could say the R word. Well, everything was the R word, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, and you go through where pushback, and let's like watch the Jeffersons. The N word was used quite often, used well in that show though, also because there was a lot of political or a lot of social commentary was made. We just watched a few episodes of the Jeffersons, by the way. Excellent comedy.
Yeah, good show.
But it's not, like, so my whole thing about waiting until like 2030 is just like these things go in ebbs and flow, man. It's an ebb and flow. I mean, a few years ago we were getting stuff like Anchorman and Zoolander, and a lot of great stuff was hitting, and then you're like, oh, this is it, here we go, we got a bunch of comedies, and then a bunch of comedies, and then it kind of fades away, and then now we're going into more like heavier sci-fi, get that for a couple years, and then drama and period pieces, and then horror comes and goes, man. Like horror is like the like, we're in a huge horror decade right now. People love horror movies. That's your genre films. They're
not horror. It's
everywhere.
Slasher decade is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just like, and that's huge right now. Where that was also really huge with like the Freddy Kruegers and the Jasons of the 80s. In the 90s, horror died in the 90s.
Yeah.
We were starting to get the edgier
much,
indie films like the Pulp Fictions and the Clerks and Do the Right Thing, and that kind of stuff was hitting in the 90s, where you had like that whole boom of directors. And then early 2000s, like Scream was like the only horror movie I could think of back in like the late 90s.
Yeah. Then you had the Final Destinations.
I was going to say,
but that came after Scream, and that was the early 2000s. And then, but that was like it. There wasn't a lot in that time. Now it's like, oh, A Quiet Place, The Purge, and I don't know, like whatever, torture porn movie of the week, and that kind of stuff, and those kind of started in like 2010.
Let me ask you something though.
So I think comedy is going to have another rebirth. I agree. Like the comedies aren't the same right now. What are you going to say, Chuck?
Yeah. I mean, not to get off the comedy thing. But like I never saw any of the Saw movies, and I was just like, that's just it did not interest me. I mean, I kind of knew a lot about it, but
I'm going to claim ignorance on them as well.
But you have to look at things. For example, you still have TV shows like The Family Guy, Simpsons. They're still making fun of stuff.
South Park has not changed at all.
Shit, I can't even believe that I haven't even seen South Park in years, man. But yeah, South Park. So it's like there's still people out there pushing buttons and saying things like, virtually on a weekly basis during the season.
It's like music, man. It's just like I think popular music right now sucks also. So we're in a sucky age for comedy. We're in a sucky age for pop music.
It could
flip.
also be my fear. This is my fear.
Old man fear. Old man fear.
My fear is that I'm almost 50, and I'm just like, hey, all the good stuff's over. Now everything's garbage. Like, I don't want to be that guy, But I do. I find myself like my wife will turn on like a TV show, for example, and not to get political, but she'll watch like Station 19, and it's extremely far left for a show. I mean, a lot of those shows are, but this one is like every conversation is so serious and so like I'm like nobody's just making dick jokes. You know what I mean? Like you're at work. Once in a while, you're going to throw out a dick joke or something stupid like that, or somebody's going to pull up something inappropriate on a phone. You're going to be like, usually the older guys, and you're like, all right, whatever. They're going to show you some racist thing or sexist thing or something, and you're just like going to laugh with them. But like those sorts of things, like why don't we see that kind of stuff? Well, I don't know. I think that show is trying to, I think they have an agenda with that show. Not that, that's wrong. I'm just saying, like, they probably have like this is our goal, this is our vision kind of thing, and they don't want to.
Did you see History of the World Part 3?
No.
Did you watch it?
No, I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
Like I want to know, Mel Brooks, did he kowtow or did he push the envelope?
From what I understand, it's pretty good. Yeah, I just haven't gotten to it.
He's pushing the envelope. Like he
it's something he had written a long time ago and everything. I don't know. I you know what? I can't answer. Maybe we should watch that. It's on Hulu, right?
I really think that you have to. I mean, I think Justin's on point with this. That there is at the level, at the executive level of these big companies that are writing big checks, that they're like, look, we want inclusiveness. We don't want to exclude anybody. We don't want to, do anything that would, get us yelled at or negative press. And I think that, you look at even in the 90s when like cellular phone commercials would have like one of every race. You had your Japanese person or your Asian person. That's probably racist now to say that. But, you had a person of color, you had a white person, you had women, you had men. So they were always trying to like, we want to placate to everybody. Mm-hmm. And, we grew up in a time in the 80s when, not that it was right, but, a lot of your leads were white guys, and
99% of them were.
Yeah. And I think that, personally, I could care less if the story's awesome. I could care less what color or belief structure the lead has. Mm-hmm. I just want an awesome story or a funny story. A lot of times I like lighthearted stuff. So, but I can watch a deep film once in a while. But
I guess I don't think you need to drop inclusivity to push the envelope, right? In fact, I don't think you have to drop that. The more inclusive you are, the funnier things get, but you still can push toe the line and see how far you can go over it. And you do that like is it Andrew Schultz or Anthony Schultz, the comedian? Another audience riffer, kind of like Matt Rife. Really, really funny. And he's playing his crowd, and he's including everybody in the comedy, regardless of what you look like, but he'll use what you look like and what your culture or your ethnicity in the jokes, not being mean, but as points of conversation to bring up. He's got a really good clip, if you have a chance to go out there, a bit about blackface, right? And it's really funny because he goes out in his audience and he finds like your black and African American people in the crowd, and he's like, all right, let's talk about blackface. And he looks at everybody and says, I can't talk about it with the rest of you, but I can talk about it with them, right? he just brings up, like, hey, I was watching a commercial for the Navy SEALs yesterday, and they're all coating up blackface. Are you okay with that? And just kind of pushing the envelope with it, and it's really, really funny. And he takes it past that. He takes it a little bit further. But he's like, he's inclusive in his comedy when he's talking about, but he's still talking about these social issues, and it's really important. I want to see it translate back onto the big screen.
Like I said, if the world continues on for a few more years, we'll see that flip. I have no doubt, and I'm just waiting for we had some really good comedy shows that I really don't know what we have going on right now. But like with The Office, Parks and Rec. I mean, we had a really good run of some really solid. Curb Your Enthusiasm. Curb Your Enthusiasm never pulled a punch.
Yeah. Outside of like, I know Curb Your Enthusiasm just went off the air, but
yeah,
something original, not something that's been on the air for 20 years like South Park, or 30 years like South Park or Simpsons. What's the edgiest thing on TV or streaming today, in your opinion?
Okay, see, that's something I wish you would have asked me that question before this podcast was starting to get recorded, so I could think about it.
What do you think the edgiest thing on TV is today? I know what I think it is.
Oh, shit.
Chuck, you answer while I think about this.
The edgiest thing on TV. Dude, I watch CBS. There's nothing edgy on there. Let me tell you that right now. All
right, well, Dan, tell us what it is while I'm thinking.
Yeah, what do you think it is,
Dan? It's the Weekend Update with Colin Jost and Michael Che. By far, when they do their
joke swapping?
Their joke swapping, that is by far the edgiest thing on TV, and it's so short, but it's one of the things I look forward to every weekend after they have a new episode.
It's funny, too, because, here's the thing. So, because they're doing it with not reverence, but they're not like, it's not mean-spirited. Like,
some of it's a little mean, for sure.
To each other, maybe, but not necessarily. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. I too do find it funny, but I also think that it's kind of at times it's also the lowest common denominator kind of joke too, because it's a lot of times it's racial, and I mean that's where we are as a culture, but I find I just find it dumb sometimes.
That's okay. I mean, sometimes dumb is good. It's okay to be sophomoric, I think, right?
Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, yeah. I think, we're all 12-year-old kids inside, and I think
the boys.
Oh, yes,
it's satire-less comedy, and it's not.
It's less comedy. It's less comedy.
I don't know. I laugh.
Edgy,
it's pretty funny. Okay, edgy comedy.
Oh my god. Come on, seriously, The Boys.
Boys is pretty funny, though.
Dude had a prehensile wiener, dude. Like, I was dying laughing. And then
that would go through windows and strangle people.
I haven't seen the last season yet, so
that wasn't even the last. Was that the last season?
Yeah, I think it was last season inside the.
In the second season, they drove a boat through a whale. That shit was nuts. It was hilarious. Just even the first scene of the first show. His girlfriend explodes.
All right, I think we're segueing to
but still.
Yeah. So I was reading today that what's his name? Who's the guy who plays what's his name? Highlander?
Homelander.
Homelander.
Last name is Starr, Anthony Starr, something like that.
Yeah, so they're interviewing him, and they're like, everybody wants Homelander to be a good guy, and everything coming in.
Who asked that question? That's not true.
No, they're
there's this segment of the United States population that is so dumb that they freaked out when they found out. It took them 3 seasons to figure out that he was a bad guy.
Meaning they want to see him morph into a good guy. And
Yeah, they want a redemption story.
They want it to be a redemption story.
No.
And it's never going to go that way, right?
No.
Who wants that? I would never want that.
It's just there. Anyway, it was just talking about like
that's just
the stuff that comes in, like from fans and whatnot. Like there's a large push to see him turn into like a good guy and be like Superman.
Is this the same one that asked him like if he got into a fight with Superman, who would win? Is that the same interview?
Not the same one, but it was like in a like the same series of interviews. Yeah.
It's the Watchmen. I mean, you just have to. It's also X-Men. It's like this. If you become the hero, and you've got all this power and all, like, it's going to go to your head. Like, we've seen power corrupt. Like, you know, at some point he's going to look at the rest of the humans as lesser people. He's just going to be like,
at some point, he already does.
No, I know that. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, even
in general.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, Superman, the only reason Superman isn't that guy is because he was raised in this rural place where his aunt and uncle or his parents or whatever you call them, they taught him these values of, you know, human life is sacred and you need to care for people and you need to take care of your friends and you need, like, that's the only reason. And I would imagine that over time that would get beat out of him. Like, eventually Superman would ultimately become a bad guy, I think. In my opinion, that's my...
Yeah, I mean,
who watches The Watchmen?
Isn't that the whole backstory of Superman versus Batman, right? So,
it's the fear... It's the same thing like in like X-Men where you have... The humans are afraid of the mutants because that's what's going to... Like, they know they have powers that are superior to us. Eventually, they're going to reach a point where they're just like, why are we even bothering with these?
Or
like,
Avengers Civil War, right? You know?
Right. Yeah.
But anyways, I just thought it was like crazy nuts that apparently there's a whole bunch of people that are like writing that dude letters and emails and coming up to him and saying, "Oh, I can see him be turning into the good guy," and oh my god, it's just the dude's a freaking psycho.
I think human,
like from the get-go, he like blows up a plane just so
yeah, exactly.
But
I think the human. Okay, here's the crazy thing. But people want redemption stories, but at the same time, culturally, we are not willing to forgive people for mistakes.
That's a really good thing to say. That's a great point, Chuck.
You know,
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. Yeah, that's a definite problem.
Here's the thing about Louis C.K. and what Louis C.K. did was fucking crazy, but he admitted, like, he came out and said, "Yeah, I did that shit." And I'm not proud of it. I'm sorry I did it.
He never apologized, actually.
He didn't.
He apologized for being caught. That was the part that bothered most people. Is like he didn't like come clean and be like, I screwed those women up. I caused problems. He just like, I'm sorry I got caught. You know, it's like one of those. It was more that. It's not.
Oh shit, that
it's
sucks.
not what I wanted it to be, and like that's the one that hurt the most because I loved his comedy. I still love those jokes. They're still good jokes, you know. But put into the new context, it's like, you're using your power. And I can't stand people, and that's in a position of power, holding somebody else down or putting somebody in an uncomfortable position. That to me is the worst thing any human can do to another human.
Yeah, that's aggravating. I thought he had said that he was sorry originally. But still, I mean, here's my thing: if you say, all right, yeah, I screwed up, and I'm sorry. That's huge. Nobody does that anymore. They always have an excuse or, yeah, I did it, but here's the case. Well, I was, messed up in the head or something. Like, if you just say, yeah, I did some dumb shit and I'm sorry. Now, mate, it's probably not going to cancel your cancellation. But, I'm going to have a little bit more respect for you than, Yeah,
no, I mean, this is, like human nature. You're not the same person you were.
No.
In general, most people are not the same person they were way back when.
Yeah, like I'm not the same person I was when I was in high school. There's not even
close.
Yeah.
All you crazy people that went to college and did all that stupid shit in college, like I never did that because I didn't go to college, right?
Right,
so I didn't have that experience, right? But all these people that did all this stupid shit in college, like if we held them accountable for that as adults today, like nobody would have freaking jobs. You know, all of the drunk driving and the streaking across quads and you know the mindless drinking and partying that people do and the stupid shit. You know, bringing cows into people and horses into your dean's office, right?
Getting them up on the second floor where they won't walk back downstairs, that type of stuff. Yeah.
Never did any of that stuff, to be honest.
Yeah, I really didn't.
Just played a lot of Mario Kart.
And GoldenEye. We played a lot of GoldenEye in college.
Yeah.
And then StarCraft and Diablo. The first Diablo, to take the whole thing back full circle.
The first Diablo. Well, also, just real quick, I wanted to throw something at you there, Justin. Earlier you said that on The Big Bang Theory, they had an action figure that wasn't a real thing, and you were like, well, the show is stupid. But then you liked that show Bones, and they worked at a place called the Jeffersonian, which wasn't a real thing. And then on top of that, they had this holographic computer thing, which I know doesn't fucking exist.
I don't really care about Bones either way.
No, you've defended that show too many times.
I get under your skin because you hate that show so badly. that I'm just pushing your buttons. I forgot that. Like I don't even know which character's Bones.
I watch a lot of shows with my wife.
Leonard. That's you know, Dr. McCoy.
Can we go back for a minute about your hate for Big Bang Theory? Because to me, I think you've only seen the one episode.
No, I've seen more. I've seen more than that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of episodes of it.
Like about 3 or 4, probably though.
I've seen way more than that.
It's not my jam. It's not my jam.
So, but hold on. How many seasons are there of it? There's like 10 or something like that, plus Young Child and all that, right? So your big bone, your big axe to grind that I always hear from you is that, you know, it's mean-spirited towards nerd culture, not
it's disingenuous, and it's cashing in on that.
It's disingenuous, right?
I think its audience is not geek culture.
All right, so okay. Well, and I think that's not entirely true, because I would say like you two are really hardcore, more so than me, nerd. At least Justin, you are more nerd culture, right?
I am wearing a Boba Fett sweatshirt right now.
Well, I mean that's okay. But
you do have a Diablo background, though.
Collectible cards, you know, a lot about, you know, manga and all these different aspects of what people would call nerd culture today. I would say that I have always been like a computer geek, a closeted nerd, meaning like when I grew up, I actually knew all about like Dungeons and Dragons and all these other tabletop games and stuff, but I never played them. The only thing I ever played was BattleTech. I played BattleTech a few times at a buddy's house, but none of my friends ever were into these kinds of things, right? Nobody was into comic books. None of my friends were into. I had one friend that was really into it, but he had a whole other separate set of friends, and they hung out, and I just was never a part of that. But I completely appreciate where you know, Big Bang Theory is in how it, you know, brings out a lot of that nerd culture, and it has brought a lot of it into more mainstream awareness and acceptance. And, you know, to me, it's like, well, you as a hardcore, you know, nerd culture kind of a person might feel, man, a little slighted or like, hey, it's not very honest. But I think it's a lot more honest than you know, like some of the other shit you would see in, you know, as a bit part in another kind of a show or comedy or something like that, where it's really just like, oh, there's your token geek like Urkel, right? You know, or somebody, you know, that in, you know, like who's really a caricature.
That's fair. It's a fair argument. I mean, and to be fair, I've, like I said, 3 or 4 episodes ever of the show. It's classic. Go on YouTube, watch some clips where they take the laugh track out of it, and watch it. The comedy does not hit very well, and that's mostly where I'm not a. I got so many different things with it. But if you like, I'm not gonna yuck your yum. If you like it, go for it. It's not for me. Like I said, there's so many other shows that I would rather watch in that genre. And if it brought something to the mainstream, that's a great argument. You're probably right about that too.
Yeah, I've probably watched like 30 episodes of it. I have not watched all of the seasons of it. I don't necessarily. It's not my favorite show. I do appreciate it. I've learned to like certain aspects to it. I like some of the awareness it brings to autism and people on the spectrum and how they operate and how people learn to cope together with it. I think there's some really cool things in the show. But I don't find it disingenuous. From my perspective, I don't find it disingenuous. And I don't think it's mean from where I am sitting. Maybe if you're somebody more like them, you might find it mean in certain situations, but I think it's more like more of a pop culture, general population trying to embrace the culture rather than the inverse, if that makes sense.
I'm going to agree with you, and I think maybe I've been overly sensitive, but this is a point I just wanted to make. Now, the difference between a white comedian in blackface mocking African American culture.
Wow, that's a gear shift change. Ooh,
just hear me out. Hear me
I got
out.
some whiplash from this one. Ooh,
the difference between a white person in blackface mocking African American culture and an actual African American mocking African American culture. That's a huge difference, right? It's the exact same thing when you have non-nerds representing nerds. Okay, it's the same thing. Okay, it is not the same thing. I'm gonna because I don't want to get people really upset.
I'm not gonna say it's the same. I'm not gonna go that far.
But it's similar.
I understand the analogy. I get it.
The offensive nature is that you're having people representing you and your culture that aren't part of you or your culture, and that's where I think right now in America we're overly sensitive of. I can't say, hey, this is how women should act or this is what women should do because I'm a man, right? And that would be wrong of me. But I could make observations that like, hey, my wife does this. It's kind of funny. That's an observational thing. But if I'm going to represent women, it's not going to be me doing it. Like I'm not going to put a wig on and pretend to be a woman to represent women. They need an actual woman to represent. I don't know. That's what I'm just trying to say. I agree with you 100% that, yes, I think I'm overly sensitive to it. I have watched the show several times, but as in with like a lot of these shows, I'm like, that's not a scientist would never be. Maybe. I don't know that many scientists, but I'm saying like I just don't picture them being like that. Okay. But
I love the pause. I don't know a lot of scientists. Thank you.
Last week, the doctor thing, where I was like, doctors don't talk to patients that way, and Justin was like, well, actually, they do all the time, and I was like, well, then I'm wrong then.
I work with a lot of health scientists, and a lot of them very much look and sound like the guys on the Big Bang Theory. Oh, I should cover up my corporate logo here. Well, I say that.
Yeah. The title might be I don't know a lot of scientists today.
Yeah.
That's great. I do not know a lot of
physicists and aerospace engineers and those kinds of guys.
I mean, I'm not going to downplay the autism factor in the show. I'm not going to downplay those parts of it. Those are all great points. I don't feel I'm oversensitive to it. I just don't like the show. I just don't find it funny. That's it. I mean, and I don't find I didn't like Friends either. So, and I'm very much in the minority on that one. I know that. I just didn't care for it. I thought it was easy jokes. Lois.
Some of them. Some of the jokes were easy.
But I was a Seinfeld guy. I wanted that joke to like hit in 10 minutes. I wanted it to. I really like what's that?
How I Met Your Mother?
I did like that show.
I never watched How I Met Your Mother.
Show.
It's pretty good.
That's one of those ones where you had, kind of like Community, you had to wait like 4 or 5 years to get the payoff.
Yep,
of the joke,
excellent jokes. Excellent jokes. Yeah. Great stuff. Yeah, Community, fantastic. I mean, the Beetlejuice joke in that, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you know the Beetlejuice joke?
Me? No, I don't remember it.
Have you seen Community?
Yes, I've seen Community.
All right, yeah. So they mentioned Beetlejuice 3 times during the show. The
Oh,
third
no
time,
shit.
and it's like in the third seasons that it said the third time,
Oh,
somebody
yeah?
dressed as Beetlejuice walks up in the background right after they
Oh,
say
that's
it.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Speaking
Yeah.
of, I watched the trailer to Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
I haven't
Oh,
seen it
really?
yet. Was it
I've
worth
not
it?
watched it. I was afraid to watch it.
I,
It's a beloved film. I love that film.
I kind of want to watch the sequel. I kind
Yeah,
of
good.
liked the trailer.
Good. Good.
I kind of liked it. It looked really good. Like, it's using the practical effects of the original. It looks exactly like the first one. And I'm a Tim Burton lover or hater, and Beetlejuice is one of my love movies. And I kind of want to
Hell
see
yeah.
it. I kind of want to
Hell
see
yeah.
this movie. Yeah.
I was so embarrassed. I went to Music City. That was the name of the record store, I think. Whatever. It was the music record store in the mall. I went there and I bought the Beetlejuice soundtrack. I was like, dude, the music in that was so
It's
awesome.
Danny Elfman. It's classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
got a
That's
great,
what I'm saying.
the main
Like,
theme's amazing.
yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, how big of a nerd do you have to be to go buy a movie soundtrack on cassette? No doubt.
I owned many.
I have so many. You know what, though? That's weird because I was talking to somebody about 10 years ago at work, and I was talking about the score to some movie. And he's like, what do you mean the score? I'm like, like the music played in the background. He's like, you could buy that? I'm like, yeah, you can
I have the Star
buy.
Wars original trilogy.
Yeah,
box
like I think
sets.
it might have
Oh,
been.
yeah.
It might have been like when one of the new Star Wars movies came out. I grabbed because
Yeah.
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 I really, despite my opinion of the sequels, I love the music. I love John Williams' music.
Music is great.
It's great. Yeah,
Music is great.
and I think it might have been around when the first one came out, and he's like, I didn't know you could get that music. I'm like, you're kidding me. And we pooled the office, and there was like 2 other people that didn't even know this. And these are like functioning human beings that like go to store and buy apples
Like,
and
people
eat
our
and
age?
breathe. The one was our age, like maybe 5 years younger than me, and then another one was like 10 years older. That didn't, and it was just mind blowing. Just.
You know what? Next week's episode, let's bring this back to next week's episode. Let's talk about the things that our generation had that the current generation really doesn't know. Because I love those, Gen X,
Like, we got this. We're Gen X. We could do everything. I
Yeah.
could pick a lock and then microwave any meal on the planet and clean up the house before my mom gets home. And
I know how to get home from school without a map.
Yeah, you could drop me off in the middle of a field and I'll find my way home like a dog. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's do that. And guess what else we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about The Acolyte, right? We're going to watch The Acolyte. Episodes 1 and 2 of The Acolyte come out next week. I think they drop either Tuesday or Wednesday, and then we'll record on Thursday. So that's the assignment. Come up with things that millennials have no clue about, and Gen Zers are even more clueless. And The Acolyte.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Like good Star Wars.
Oh, man.
Just kidding.
Didn't we do this episode already?
Yeah, we did.
This is now this is real geek culture. We don't let shit go. Yeah. All right.
All right, you guys.
All right. Good talk, everybody. I think time to wrap, right?
Yeah.
Let's put a bow on this one.
Yeah. Look us up on YouTube. You can
Facebook.
You can listen to us on almost all of the
Hey,
places.
we need to get a Discord invite on the YouTube channel so people can hop into the Discord and start getting some conversation going there. It's all ready.
You guys figured that part out. I'm already editing. I got a lot to edit in this one because I really screwed up the beginning part.
I will shoot it over to you so people can join us over.
People really loved that the intro to the last cast where we
Three Amigos.
Three Amigos. Yeah, they were like, "That's the worst thing I've ever heard." And I was like, "That's exactly what we wanted."
Yeah, yeah. If people are coming here looking for quality on the intros, you're in the wrong place.
Oh my god.
All right, guys.
All right, you guys.
Peace out.
Peace out.